You see different activity patterns in the brain when you have typical reading skills versus when you don't have strong reading skills. So the top brain, the left side is doing more of the work, and the child is a strong reader. The bottom one, the right side, is doing more of the work, and the child is not a very strong reader. So someone asked in my last talk about, what about that right hemisphere reading program? Well, I don't know of any research study that says you should be trying to train the right hemisphere for better reading. Because typical strong readers, the left side is doing most of the work, the right is doing other functions. When you have a brain injury on the right, not only might you lose prosody, but you also might lose math skills, more so than a brain injury on the left. So know that those patterns show up, and then we know why those patterns are different, because this is a post-mortem study, after-death study with I think it's about a dozen people. It's a mixture of kids and adults in Harvard. Harvard did this study, and they did a very electron microscope tissue sample of the brains of people who had died who had dyslexia. And the question was, is there anything structurally different about it? And the answer was yes. And anywhere there's a black dot, there was something different about the brain. There was something different about how the brain cells are organized. And like, okay, well, that's kind of like scattered all over, right? Well, no, not really, because when you see how it lays out, you see that there's certain parts of the brain, I thought there was another slide. There's certain parts of the brain, those circles are major language parts of the brain. There's the speech perception part in the middle, there's the sound to motor control part, and there's the visual part down at the bottom. So these are major speech parts of the brain. What we think is happening is before the child is born, there's about 6 different genes that influence how the brain aligns in this language part of the brain. This is why we understand that dyslexia is genetic. If one of you as a parent has any history of reading problems, not even you, it could be your brother, your child's 50% more likely to have reading problems too. If both parents have any history, it's like 80% more likely that you're going to have a child who has reading problems. But sometimes you have 2 parents who have no history whatsoever, and they have a child with reading problems, because that's how genetics works. Sometimes it makes a new mix that has never happened before. But we know that we think is happening. This shows a slice of brain tissue going from level 1, which is at the outer side, from level 1 down the inside up to layer 6 on the outside, and it shows these brain wiring actually migrates from the back of the brain out to the outer cortex before the baby's even born. Typical brain, 100 billion brain cells. And they're doing this migration before the child is even born. If a few don't make the journey properly, it should be okay, right? It should have a few extra. 100 billion's a lot. Yes, but from that slide we showed, yeah, but it happened in a lot in just key areas. It wasn't randomly scattered across the whole brain. There was a whole bunch of black dots right here in the phonological processor, a whole bunch of black dots right here in the motor control system, which gives you an increased predisposition that this is going to interfere with your brain's learning, because those neurons did not migrate quite as properly as they should have, and the brain's less efficiently wired.